Good evening. You're watching the News at 6 with me, Ishan Russell. The News at 6 is all about the day's biggest developing stories, and we'll be filling you in on them over the next half hour. But first, the headlines that we're tracking right now. Finance Minister Arun Jaitley pledges to put investments before budget savings to drive growth, expresses confidence that the government will pass the GST in the winter session. The flood situation continues to remain tense in Tamil Nadu. Teams from Army, Air Force and Navy pressed into service for rescue work. VHP leader Ashok Singhal passes away at the age of 89 years. Prime Minister Narendra Modi and other leaders condole his death. Russia calls the crash of A321 airliner in Egypt last month an act of terror. President Putin vows to find and punish the perpetrators of the attack over the Sinai Peninsula. And France launches an international manhunt for the 8th Paris attacker. Its jets continue to bomb the Islamic State strongholds in the city of Raqqa. The top story this evening, the Indian economy is moving ahead despite adverse global circumstances and headwinds. That was the message that Finance Minister Arun Jaitley gave to a gathering of Indian businessmen in Dubai today. Jaitley said that despite the growing frequency of economic crises, India manages to find its own level. This, he believes, is happening because the government has opened up more sectors for investment. He also said that an interesting change is taking place in India with the expansion of the aspirational class. In an interview to Reuters, Jaitley said that the government will put investments before budget savings to drive growth. Calling high growth and depleting poverty the agenda of the government for the coming years, Jaitley said that the government will prefer to use buoyant tax receipts to fund extra infrastructure spending rather than slash borrowing targets for the current fiscal year. Jaitley is on a 2-day visit to the UAE. The Finance Minister making some very interesting points over there, and we're joined by senior journalist Ranjan Das to help decipher some of those. Now, Ranjan, what the Finance Minister is saying about infrastructure financing, I think that's one of the key points. And does it mark a shift as far as the government's approach towards infrastructure spending is concerned, and is it wise?
It's a good strategy. It's the appropriate strategy to my mind. But the question is whether the government is actually in a position to speed up infrastructure investment at a faster pace than it is already happening. So, maybe there are sectors such as in the road sectors, things have been very active. The railways too have now lined up, huge investment plans. And this year they are planning to invest $20 billion and double it next year. So sectorally, in certain sectors, there is preparation to really boost public sector investment. But and that's a given. It's an inevitable if Indian economy is to grow at a faster rate, because private investment and corporate investment is not picking up in a hurry.
Right.
That being the case, the Finance Minister has struck the right chord by emphasizing public investment, and that too in infrastructure projects. One constraint would be the budget constraint.
Right.
There the Finance Minister says that he will not make any, he would prefer to boost investment rather than do a saving, or rather reduce the borrowing that he has targeted for the current year. I don't think there is any scope to reduce borrowing as such, because although the revenue growth, in the later part of the year could actually pick up, as is normally the case.
Right.
From the disinvestment or the share sales, the public sector share sales, the government had targeted something like 69,500 crore rupees in the budget, and so far it has managed only about 12,700 crore. So there is a huge gap there, and given that we are already more than half the financial year over, whether the finance minister would be able to realize that disinvestment proceeds is a key question.
Absolutely. It is indeed
so
a key
he
question.
may not really have so much of scope within his budget to dramatically increase the investment. That is number one, in terms of funding those investment is concerned. Number two is the preparation for the projects where this money is to be invested. How prepared the executing agencies, the agencies which are to execute these projects, how prepared they are to actually implement.
All right, interesting points to make over there. Also, as far as the larger message of the finance minister, he seemed quite optimistic about how insulated the Indian economy is in terms of the global trends that we are seeing of the pace of growth being a little sluggish, and the finance minister is still quite hopeful of the GST. And as far as the reforms process goes, that seems to have become the centerpiece of the conversation, hasn't it?
Yes, there is no question that structural reforms have to be pushed, and the number one in that is tax reforms, which is basically one single uniform tax for goods and services, which is the GST. Now that is stuck, and that is one of the priority item insofar as structural reforms are concerned. Then there is clearly, because we've seen, especially in infrastructure sector, corporate balance sheets are under severe strain, and there is a lot of public financial institution bank money that is locked up in those projects. We need a strong exit policy for companies to be able to get out of industry or projects which may or may not be viable. We need bankruptcy law. That is another reform that is urgently the economy is in need of. Then there are you've had several of those high profile cases which arise out of disputes in public contracts, and those cases are under international arbitration and all kinds of things, or are being fought in courts of law. We need a good public contract settlement system.
Absolutely.
And that is the kind of reforms that is again another urgency would be. So these kind of structural reforms are clearly need of the hour.
All right, and the government saying that it would act upon them, but the upcoming winter session of Parliament would really tell us whether the government is able to act upon it or not. Thank you very much, Priya Ranjan Das, for coming in and letting us know what the entire developments mean as far as this front is concerned. Now, ahead of the winter session, the government has called a meeting of the NDA leaders to work out the floor strategy for the session. Parliamentary Affairs Minister M. Venkaiah Naidu is likely to convene the meeting at his residence to chalk out plans on the legislative business and floor coordination. Opposition leaders have already indicated that a debate on intolerance will feature in both houses in the upcoming session. And let's go across to my colleague Shyam Sundar for more on this particular story. Shyam, the winter session of Parliament is critical for the government if it wants those big ticket reforms. I was just talking to Priya Ranjan Das about the same, and it seems that it all comes down to the winter session of Parliament and basically the efforts of the government to reach out to the opposition and bring them on board. Shyam, can you hear us?
Yeah, Shyam.
Yes, I was asking, as far as the winter session of Parliament is concerned, the government's agenda certainly is the reforms, but getting the opposition on board is the big question, isn't it?
It's a big question, Ishan. Of course, there would be a meeting of NDA partners tomorrow called by Parliamentary Affairs Minister, Mr. M. Venkaiah Naidu, and they will make strategy to pass important legislations in Parliament like the GST. That is the top priority of the government. But as far as opposition is concerned, opposition is quite determined, especially after Bihar Assembly election results. And today only we have seen a statement of JDU leaders that there should be a wider unity in the opposition and there should be a common agenda by the opposition in Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. And we know that government is in minority as far as Rajya Sabha is concerned. And today Mr. Sitaram Yechuri, he addressed a press conference, and indication are very, very clear that issues like intolerance and other issues which are on the priority list of the opposition would be coming up, and government will certainly promise that they are ready to discuss all these issues. But as far as reform agenda is concerned, it is the chances are really dim because of course there would be more meetings called by Speaker Sumitra Mahajan and Chairman of Rajya Sabha, but there would be any consensus on the reform agenda. There are serious doubts.
All right, Shyam, we'll leave it over there. Shyam, of course, we'll keep a track of the stories about the winter session of Parliament and the strategy for both the opposition and the government for the same. Thanks very much for now, Shyam. Well, moving on to Tamil Nadu, where the flood situation continues to be grim, with large parts of the state being inundated. Thousands of residents were stranded in their homes, even in cities. Teams from the Army, the Air Force and the Navy have been pressed into service for relief work.
The army is out in Tamil Nadu to rescue people stranded in low-lying areas. IAF helicopters dropped food packets and moved people to safer places. Navy boats evacuated people from Kottapuram and nearby areas where the Adya river is in spate.
The Indian Navy is fully ready and equipped to help all the areas which are low-lying and have got water stagnation. We have got 2 teams deployed, one in the Vadakal area and the other is being sent as requested by the state administration to Manali area and also to Tamran.
Nearly a dozen teams of the NDRF have been deployed in Kanchipuram and adjoining areas where torrential rains have left thousands homeless.
अभी हमारी टीम जो है टोटल 12 टीम चेन्नई रीजन में ताम्बरम में डिप्लॉय है और हम लोग पूरी कोशिश के साथ जो फंसे हुए लोग हैं उसको अपने तकनीकी तरीके से अपने बोट की मदद से अपने लोगों से के जो सक्षम है उनके द्वारा मैं उसको निकाल रहा हूं.
The rains forced cancellation of over a dozen trains, causing inconvenience to passengers.
ट्रेन है नहीं, पूरा ट्रेन कैंसिल है. कोरोमंडल एक्सप्रेस आना था कल इवनिंग, लेकिन अभी तक वो यहाँ आया नहीं है. काफी लोग यहाँ पे परेशान में हैं. Just now they are cancelled the train. We came started from home at 4 p.m. in the morning, 4 a.m. But now the train has been cancelled on 7:30.
The situation is likely to worsen, with the Met Department forecasting more rains in the next 24 hours.
As far as forecast for next 24 hours is concerned, it is likely to rain at few places in Tamil Nadu and Puducherry. As far as Tirunelveli district is concerned, 1 or 2 places may experience heavy rainfall, and as far as Chennai city is concerned, cloudy with the possibility of shower in some areas.
71 deaths have been reported in the state so far in rain-related incidents. Chief Minister J. Jayalalitha has announced a package of 500 crore rupees for relief and rehabilitation. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
The VHP leader Ashok Singhal passed away today at a private hospital in Haryana's Gurgaon district. The 89-year-old was not keeping well for some time. He was admitted to the Medanta hospital on Saturday after complaints of acute breathlessness. He died today after a cardiovascular failure. VHP leader Praveen Togaria broke the news of his demise. Prime Minister Narendra Modi condoled his death, calling it a personal loss. He hailed Singhal as an institution in himself whose life centered around the nation. Ashok Singhal was a well-known RSS pracharak who rose to prominence with his role in the Ram Janmabhoomi movement. Condolences message also poured in from other VHP and BJP leaders as well.
अनेक प्रवृत्ति के, अनेक स्वभाव के संत महंत मठाधीश शंकराचार्य, इन सबको एकत्रित रखना ये कठिन काम है. वो कठिन काम अशोक सिंघल जी ने समर्थता से किया है. मैं उनकी स्मृति में अभिवादन करता हूं, श्रद्धांजलि अर्पण करता हूं.
अंतर्राष्ट्रीय मानचित्र पर हिंदुत्व को स्थापित करने वाले दृढ़ निश्चयी, निर्भीक वक्ता और अकाट्य तर्कों के धनी अशोक सिंघल जी का निधन अपूर्णीय क्षति है। भारतीय जनता पार्टी उत्तर प्रदेश की ओर से मैं उनके चरणों में अपनी विनम्र श्रद्धांजलि अर्पित करता हूं।
Let's now get you some more news and updates from around the country nationwide. The government today gave a clean sheet to former Chief Justice K.G. Balakrishnan in a disproportionate assets case against him. This comes after an NGO accused the former Chief Justice of amassing Benami property in the names of his relatives and associates during his tenure. The next hearing will be held on the 19th of January. A 4-year-old nursery student died this morning after her head got stuck in an elevator of a private school in Hyderabad. Scores of angry parents gathered outside the school to protest against the horrifying incident. And a case of criminal negligence has been filed against the school management. Pakistani Rangers today resorted to unprovoked firing on border security force positions on the international border in Samba district of Jammu and Kashmir. No casualty or injury was however reported. The fresh ceasefire violation comes 2 weeks after the BSF and Pak Rangers held 2 high-level meetings to ensure truce on the border. Time for us to take a quick break. On the other side, all the international news. Russia has confirmed that the Sinai plane crash was indeed a terror attack. More on that when we return.
Tales that inspire, stories of social change. A salute to diversity, promoting public discourse. Events that motivate, inspiring the innovative spirit. Watch Rajya Sabha television documentaries every Friday at 10:30 p.m, Saturday 12:30 p.m, and Sunday at 1 p.m.
Welcome back to watching the news at 6. Now, in the wake of the terror attack in Paris, Home Minister Rajnath Singh on Tuesday warned that India can't remain immune to its threat. He said India has a close eye on the terror outfit ISIS. The centre has also asked states to step up vigil.
High casualty Paris terror strike has sent the world into a tizzy. On the home turf, security measures have been heightened. Home Minister Rajnath Singh voiced concern on the impending threat from IS in India. Singh emphasized that the danger of IS did not confine to any particular group of nations and that India has adopted defensive strategy to combat the menace.
IS का खतरा केवल किसी एक देश का खतरा नहीं है, बल्कि एक ग्लोबल एक चैलेंज है और सभी देशों को मिलकर इसका मुकाबला करने की जरूरत है और भारत भी इस संबंध में पूरी तरह से सजग है.
Even as the Paris terror attacks forced the Indian security establishment to upgrade security measures, radicalization and indoctrination of Indian youths by IS have added to India's worries.
Intelligence people should keep an eye out, they should keep a watch on the situation. We should develop a sophisticated de-radicalization strategy in case some young people are affected. Certainly we should do that.
The world has been put on high alert following 13/11 massacre in Paris by IS, which has left 132 dead. Major cities including London, Rome and Washington DC have beefed up security. High alert has been sounded in India too, and elaborate security measures have been put in place at all foreign embassies and consulates. Kriti Mishra, Rajya Sabha TV.
Now, France took the fight to the Islamic State again on Monday night, with warplanes carrying out fresh airstrikes on the organization's stronghold in Raqqa. This even as international manhunt for the 8th Paris attacker continued.
French warplanes carried out fresh raids overnight against the Islamic State stronghold of Raqqa in northern Syria, destroying a command center and training center. The raids, which follow a similar bombardment on Sunday, came a day after President François Hollande vowed to crush the Islamic State. Speaking in a rare joint session of the French Parliament at the Palace of Versailles, Hollande described the coordinated attacks that killed 129 people as acts of war.
J'estime en conscience que nous devons faire évoluer notre Constitution pour permettre au pouvoir public d'agir conformément à l'état de droit contre le terrorisme de guerre.
On the domestic front, Hollande called for an extension of the state of emergency by 3 months and announced 8,500 new police and judicial jobs to help counter terrorism.
Les décisions budgétaires seront prises dans le cadre de la loi de finances qui est en ce moment même en discussion pour 2016. Elles se traduiront nécessairement, et je l'assume devant vous, elles se traduiront par un surcroît de dépenses.
Meanwhile, French police staged over 100 raids in the early hours of Tuesday. The raids followed similar action on Sunday night, which saw police carry out 168 raids in towns and cities across the country. During that operation, authorities had made 23 arrests and seized 31 weapons, including a rocket launcher.
Pour ce qui concerne les assignations à résidence, j'ai prononcé ces dernières 48 heures 104 premières assignations à l'encontre d'individus qui font l'objet d'une attention particulière de nos services. Par ailleurs, cette nuit, sur l'ensemble du territoire national,
as authorities scrambled to find those responsible, the grieving French tried to return to the humdrum of daily life. Mountains of flowers and candles have been laid at the scenes of the attacks and in front of businesses that lost loved ones. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha Television.
Now, Russia has finally accepted that an act of terror brought down the Russian A321 airliner in Egypt last month. All 224 people on board were killed. Russian President Vladimir Putin said Russia will find and punish those behind the attacks over the Sinai Peninsula. He also ordered fresh strikes on Islamic State strongholds. A branch of the Islamic State terrorist group had set it down the plane. Nearly all the dead were Russians.
The Kremlin claiming for the first time that it was indeed a bomb that ripped apart a Russian passenger jet over Egypt last month. At a late-night Kremlin meeting, Alexander Bortnikov, the head of Russia's FSB security service, told a meeting chaired by President Vladimir Putin that traces of foreign-made explosive had been found.
Исследование личных вещей, багажа и частей самолета, потерпевшего крушение в Египте 31 числа. В результате проведенных экспертиз на всех предметах, о которых я сказал.
Russia has promised to hunt down those responsible for the attack and intensify its airstrikes on Islamist militants in Syria.
С варварскими террористическими преступлениями. Чаще всего без всяких видимых причин, внешних или внутренних. Так, как это было со взрывом на вокзале в Волгограде. У наших людей на Синае в числе наиболее кровавых по числу жертв преступлений. И мы не будем вытирать слез с нашей души и сердца.
Putin ordered the Russian Air Force to intensify its airstrikes in Syria in response. He also ordered the country's secret service to hunt down those responsible for blowing up the plane. He said the search for the perpetrators will continue till they are found and punished.
Без срока давности, знать их всех поименно. Мы будем искать их везде, где бы они ни прятались. Мы их найдем в любой точке планеты и покараем.
The airline crash on the 31st of October killed all 224 people on board. Until Tuesday, Russia played down assertions from the Western countries that a bomb attack was responsible for it. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Let's take a look at some other international news now on Global Buzz. More than a dozen people were killed and over 100 were injured in Pakistan when a train derailed in Balochistan province. 4 coaches of the Jafar Express on route Rawalpindi from provincial capital of Quetta derailed due to a brake failure. The driver and assistant driver were among those killed. An earthquake of 6.5 magnitude hit the western Greek island of Lefkada today. 1 person was killed while many buildings were damaged. The earthquake took place 10 kilometers below the earth's surface of the island. NASA's Curiosity Mars rover is approaching active dunes to continue investigation on how Mars's environment has changed over billions of years. NASA said it will explore activity at mobile sand dunes in the next few days. It's the first time active dunes are being explored anywhere outside Earth. Time now for all the sports action and sports beat. The fourth day of the second test between India and South Africa was called off without a ball being bowled due to rain. 9 sessions have been wasted because of rain. India were 80 for no loss and are trailing South Africa by 134 runs on the end of day 1 with openers Murli Vijay and Shikhar Dhawan victories. Australian bowler Mitchell Johnson retired today from all forms of international cricket. He took 2 wickets on the final day of the drawn second test against New Zealand in Perth. Johnson is the 4th highest wicket taker for Australia in tests, gained 587 wickets in all formats since debut in 2005. Pakistan Cricket Board Chairman Shahryar Khan declined BCCI President Shashank Manohar's offer to play a bilateral series in India in December. PCB Chairman Khan said the third home series in India was out of the question, adding he could not see any reason why India is refusing to play in UAE. The UAE has been Pakistan's home venue since the 2009 terror attacks on Sri Lankan players. Andy Murray started his ATP World Tour Finals campaign with a convincing win over Spain's David Ferrer. The British were number 1, won in straight sets 6-4, 6-4. He will next play Rafael Nadal, who brushed aside Stan Wawrinka 6-3, 6-2 in the opening game. 2 goals from John Walters helped Ireland secure a Euro 2016 spot as they overcame Bosnia-Herzegovina in the playoff second leg in Dublin. The 2-0 win in the second leg gave Ireland a 2-1 aggregate win. They now join Northern Ireland, England and Wales in Euro 2016 in France. That's all from us. Goodbye.